Welcome back to the Reece podcast, and we are moving into episode 6. This is quite an interesting podcast, as this podcast is actually going to be on me and my background and how we got to where we are right now. With me, I have got one of my best friends, Steph Davenport. She's going to be with us today to ask me questions and to actually interview me and to guide the conversation, to give you an understanding about my background and, as I said, the reason why we are here today. Steph, welcome to the podcast and thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Not a problem at all. So I'm going to hand the mic over to you and we are going to crack on with some interview questions for me whenever you're ready.
Okay, so just to give a bit of context, we are currently in a podcast room, which is in your gym, isn't it? And what I kind of want to know the story is, how did we end up here with a podcast room, with a gym at your young age?
So it's been a wild journey, I must say. It's interesting because people think they know me. And what you're going to understand today is that you absolutely know nothing about me.
Yeah.
And I think having that, like, the fact that people are intrigued by me, I kind of like that in a way. But I do also believe when you're doing something like podcasting where you're interviewing people, it's important that people kind of understand your background.
Yeah, 100%.
And understand the reason why you're doing what you're doing. So I think it's important that we go right back to the start.
Okay.
And we look a little bit back at my childhood. So to be honest, I had a real good childhood. Like, mum and dad, like, they did the best that they could. We went away on loads of holidays.
Yeah.
I had the best clothes. But I struggled a lot. And I can't even begin to get people to understand how much I struggled.
So with what?
So I have ADHD and autism. And I was diagnosed at a young age. I was medicated for a little while when I was younger.
But how young?
I think I got diagnosed with ADHD when I was like 5. And then autism was a little bit later, around age 10. And obviously they're not excuses for bad behaviour, but what they allowed people around me to do was understand why I would act in certain ways. And look, it's very interesting because most autistic kids are actually on the opposite side, where they struggle like socially, they struggle having friends, they struggle communicating. See, I wasn't like that. I was a social butterfly. I was actually very streetwise, and I was very mature at a young age. Like, I've got some funny stories. Like, I was that mature that my favourite thing to do when I was like 5 or 6 was to go to sunbeds with my mum and chat the girls up. Like, I just felt like I could like communicate so much better with older people, which obviously showed that I was a lot older than I actually really was at the time. People used to always say to me that, like, I'm an old man in a young boy's body. And that was definitely true. But I had that, but then I also had the fact that I had no regulation of my emotions at all. I struggled so much. I was anxious in so many situations. I struggled massively in school.
But like how were you, like, did you bad behaviour? You couldn't concentrate? Like, what does that mean? Like, you struggled in school?
It was a mix of a multitude of different things. One of them was that I couldn't concentrate and I struggled to sit still in class. Second thing was, I just had this weird thought process where I could not understand in my head why I had to be in school and do things that I don't want to do with people I don't like, and be taught by teachers that unfortunately didn't understand me.
Yeah.
And I think as well back then, this is like early 2000s, there wasn't as much information or knowledge on ASD and ADHD or being neurodivergent as there is now. So especially like throughout primary school, I was just labelled as a naughty kid. And I actually ended up getting expelled when I was in year 5 from Our Lady Immaculate. And look, I'm not going to slag anybody off or have any negative thought process towards it, but they didn't look after me at all. They didn't help me at all. They really struggled to obviously deal with me. And in the end, they basically just permanently excluded me. And then
was it almost easier to exclude you than to, like, try and deal with you and learn about you?
For sure. And like, we never got an apology like for the way that they treated me. They branded me as a naughty kid at that time, because this is before I was like diagnosed with ASD. And then I went to something called the Primary Education Centre, which was like a unit for naughty kids. And I had a massive shift and change when I was in there. I met a teacher called Miss Bolton. She was my year 6 teacher. And she supported me and helped me so much. She treated us like adults.
Yeah.
She made us understand that maturity and being able to understand yourself is so important. And she used to always drill into us the importance of like working hard and actually trying to make something of yourself. Because us kids, obviously, in that unit at the time, were seen as not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Was seen as like what I would call drifters. And I remember telling us this story about a pilot, and this will live with me for the rest of my life. She said that she had a boy in school who she worked with like years ago, and he was like obviously struggled to concentrate, was actually a really naughty boy, but really wanted to be a pilot. And he rang her up like 15 years later when he had just qualified to be a pilot.
I love that.
And thanked her so much for the help and support that she had given him.
Yeah.
And I want to also do that same thing and say massive thank you to Miss Bolton for the support and help that you give me, because that was a bit of a shift in me.
Yeah.
I feel like what she did was she made me understand my behaviour. It didn't mean that the behaviour stopped, but what it did was it gave me a little bit of clarity on the reason why I act in certain ways. And that helped me a lot. From there, I then went to a place called Blackmore for like the final 6 weeks of the year, like back into mainstream school. And then from there I went to Cardinal Heenham.
So, but whilst all this was happening, were you on medication?
No, I weren't. So I was only medicated for a short period of time. I actually had like a real bad reaction to it and went loopy.
Oh.
Ended up like in hospital for 2 days. When I think back to being a kid, there were so many fun times, but I also still in my head remember a lot of the difficult times, and that was just not understanding myself and not understanding why I felt certain ways. And mum and dad, just at that time, they were young as well, so they would put me in uncomfortable situations, and you need to be in uncomfortable situations to grow. But as an autistic kid, you can't control the feelings that you have inside your body, the anxiety that these things cause. And I think that played a massive part in, and plays a massive part now, in the reason why I act in certain ways in certain situations. And I think being able to understand that as I've got older has been of massive benefit.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's so interesting because I was so wise. I'm sure, and this sounds terrible, but I was that kid who ruined Father Christmas for everybody. I'm sure, like, when I was in, like, year 2 or 3, I told the whole class that Father Christmas doesn't exist. But in my head, I couldn't understand, like, well, it doesn't exist, so everyone needs to know.
Yeah,
and, like, that, like, for me, was about, like, truth.
Yeah.
And always resonating with truth. And then moving into year 7, I was like hanging around with older lads at this time. It's like 3 or 4 years older than me.
So what school was this in secondary?
So I went to Cardinal Heenham. Before I went to Cardinal Heenham, in year 7, I was already hanging around with older boys on the estate.
Yeah.
Which meant that I was maturing at a much faster rate than most people, while already being quite wise. And obviously I was introduced to things at that age that you probably shouldn't have been introduced to. But I feel like that's helped me as I've got older because it made me grow up faster.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then looking at like teenage years were interesting until I found CrossFit. First like 2 years of being in Cardinal Heenham, I had built this massive like persona and ego for myself, and I think that was from hanging around with obviously older boys, but also being so scared. Like I didn't realise like it might be autism, but I'm so sensitive, and I've realised that as I've got older how much I blocked that sensitive part of myself out when I was younger, and that sensitive part was like inside screaming to get out, and I become this like masculine, egotistic swagger about myself in year 7 and year 8. I was fighting with everyone. I had this real like superior complex, and I remember in year 8 I was like about to like go and meet someone for a fight, and I just started crying. And I remember from then on, I never, ever, ever wanted to argue or cause issues with anybody. It's like something really shifted in me.
Well, were you like, this isn't me? Like, this isn't me? Is that like what happened? Is that what like you thought?
Yeah, I'd say I felt a lot of fear. And I didn't really feel fear. I was quite fearless as a kid. And I felt like that was a massive turning point for me. And then I started to get really insecure. And something happened that year in school, which I'm not going to go into too much detail about, but that really made a massive shift in me. And I started hanging around, but I stopped hanging around with people, and I retreated a lot into myself, and I became quite like self-conscious. And I'd broke my leg 2 years previous to that, and I had put on quite a bit of weight. And I was playing football at the time, which was the sport that I did growing up, which I really loved and enjoyed. But what was mad about that as well, I felt like Steph, I never fit in, even like with my football team. Like, I was best friends with the manager and not the kids in the team. It was strange. It was weird, and I just didn't understand it as a kid. So I always felt like the odd one out.
Yeah.
And then, because obviously I'd put weight on, I then started going to the gym. And my uncle, Darren, who we don't really speak to anymore, by the way, but I do still love him, was going to do CrossFit and asked me to come to this class with him one day, at Peak Performance, Liverpool. And I went with him one day, and I fucking hated it. Honestly.
Oh,
But I could not believe the way that it made me feel.
really?
Like, afterwards, I felt like I was on top. I felt confident, and I knew that this would work for me. And I
Yeah.
knew that the goals, I had aesthetic goals because I wanted to look good, because obviously it was a little bit insecure.
Yeah.
For me, it was all about, like, looking as well as I possibly could.
Yeah.
And then I stopped after about 4 or 5 months.
You stopped going to
I
gym?
stopped going to CrossFit, yeah.
Why?
Because I just found it really hard. And then after about a month or two, I can't remember fully what happened, but I went back in the August. This is of 2015. And that was it then. I became hooked. I became hooked, and I got addicted to the feeling that it gave me. But what CrossFit did to me at the start...
But what is that feeling then? What is that feeling that it gave you?
Well, right now, I can't get my words out. What it is it's a high, isn't it?
A high.
You feel dopamine, you get a release of serotonin,
Yeah.
and at that time, it just made me feel amazing. It
Yeah.
made me feel like that I was actually progressing and I was actually doing something. Whereas when I was younger, I didn't really have like a drive to succeed. I was actually quite comfortable with like being lazy, and then this feeling that CrossFit gave me was I could actually see that I can get better at this.
Yeah.
I can improve, and being able to actually see growth or a pathway to growth became so addictive to me. Like, it became so addictive to me.
But what age were you at peak?
So I started at peak when I was 12.
12?
And then I started properly training CrossFit, like, to be a competitor when I was 13. And I want to say a massive thank you to the boys at Peak, Tom, Clark, Mark, and Tom. Like, they helped me so much when I was younger because I had so much energy to burn off. They helped me channel it. And look, this is one thing that I will be so grateful for them for, is the toughness and the resilience that they built in me. That toughness and resilience has stayed with me throughout my competitive CrossFit career, throughout my business career so far. That toughness and resilience made me very strong. And I think that's the reason why, obviously, you watch me train, one of my biggest attributes is my ability and willingness to suffer.
Yeah.
And to put myself in the hole, to stay there, even when things get tough. Yeah.
So you went to peak about 12, 13, and you were like, this is a bit of me. Like, this is, like, I enjoy it and all that. So, but then you were saying about, when did you discover about, like, say, the CrossFit Games, and that you could do this, like, competitively and all that? Talk to me about that.
So I remember this is more towards the back end of 2015, as I was getting more into CrossFit. And to be honest, Peak at the start made a massive deal of the sport. So I remember I was watching the games on YouTube, and I knew there was a teenage division. And at the time, there was like 2 top athletes, Angelo DiCicco and Nicholas Palladino. And I remember saying, like, I can compete in the Open next year. Like, I can actually do what these are doing. And from that day on, that was my goal. I wanted to go to the CrossFit Games.
Just absolute focus.
Yeah.
Lived and breathed it.
And then 2016 was probably like me defining year in terms of, like, I made this my life.
Yeah.
I made this the sport that I wanted to pursue.
But talk to me about, like, you know, when you say your life, was it literally like woke up, went to the gym, that's all you thought about? Like, how much did it impact your life?
So if you know me, or as people get to know me, they realise that I'm very intense and I'm 100% in with everything that I do. CrossFit became such an addiction for me, where that was all I thought about. All I thought about was going to the CrossFit Games. Every single one of my decisions that I made, every single thought that I had was about going to the CrossFit Games, was about being the best athlete that I could be. And I got so emotionally attached to that. So I also struggled a lot. If we had bad days in the gym or a workout went wrong, I would cry my eyes out.
Yeah.
And that was something that I spent a lot of time working on, which we'll get into as we move on through the conversation. But in 2016, I entered my first competition. It was the British Teen Championships in Brighton. This is in July of 2016.
So is that like a year?
Like a year. Just before that, it was my first open, which I did in 2016. And first workout, 20-minute AMRAP, 25-foot overhead walk and lunge, 8-bar facing burpees, 25-foot overhead walk and lunge, 8 chest to bar pull-ups. And I was sick halfway through. But I remember I was sick and I carried on. And I remember afterwards, I was like, wow, I love this. That's how you know that we're not right in the end.
Yeah.
Then obviously then I entered my first comp in 2016, which by the way, I had to like argue and disagree so much with my mum and dad on, because they didn't want me to do it. They wanted me to continue on with football and for that to stay my focus. But I begged them and and they let me compete. So we got there and I was
to Brighton
14 at the time, and the age division was one division, 14 to 17.
Okay. So 17, they're like men, like, you know. Their
development on us was obviously significantly more, and I ended up finishing third.
Love it.
And getting on the podium. And I remember in that comp, like, a lot of stuff happened where I showed real heart. And I knew after that I could get really good at the sport.
Yeah.
And then I had my second comp, which was European Championships, or it was called Battle of the Beast back then, in 2016, and I ended up winning that. But funny story, the day of the competition, I was vomiting everywhere all morning, not well. I'd been up all night, and my dad forced me to go onto the floor because we drive like 5 hours to
like, listen, son, we've come all this way.
But I pulled it out the bag, and I ended up winning. And then I said to myself after that, we got 3 months till the Open, I am gonna go all in.
Yeah.
I'm in year 9. Not really much going on in school.
That's what I was going to... Were you even bothered by GCSEs, or were you just like...
I couldn't give a fuck, to be honest. But then I did end up caring in the end, and I ended up actually doing okay. Thanks to my mindset coach Emma, which we're going to speak about in a minute. 2017 Open.
So how old are you?
I'm 15 now.
15.
I'd had 3 months of hard training,
and
I ended up winning the Open worldwide. And that was like, wow. And I remember like how hard I pushed myself that year, and how much effort I put into that being the case. And I've got to give it to my coaches at Peak. Like, and every single person who was there at that time, they supported me so much, and they all believed in me. And I think for me, winning that 2017 Open was the fucking game changer of why I took the path that I did. It gave me so much confidence and so much belief in myself. And the lessons that I learned that year as an athlete about how hard I can actually work, and about how hard I can actually push myself, and how that creates results, is being carried with me right throughout the back end of the career, and obviously into opening the businesses now.
But can I ask this? So I go to your gym, and I do like 1 class a day, and like, you know, I don't really look at my nutrition or anything like that. What does it look like, or what did it look like a day for you at like 15, 16, you know, like working towards going to the games? What did it, are you up at 5 o'clock? Are you eating chicken and rice? Or I don't like.
So my days usually was, I would get up and go to school. I would leave school and be home for 3:30, and I would be in the gym from 3:30 till 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I would just do 3 sessions back to back. I was still doing the class workout every evening because I love training with people. And then I'd do 2 sessions beforehand, which were obviously programmed by me coach, Tom and Tom. And that was the same in year 9, year 10, and then year 11. But after I went to the games in year 10, I was off school from May all the way to September. The school gave me educated off site to allow me to focus on training, because I was that obsessed, and I needed to actually have the space to be able to think than being in school all day.
Yeah,
and then
school's getting in the way.
So they also supported me quite a lot as well. And then I went to the CrossFit Games in 2017.
Amazing.
I finished 3rd, got on the podium, and became the 3rd fittest teenager on the planet.
That's great. What did that do to your head?
I mean, look, it gave me obviously massive confidence, and it does give you a little bit of a swagger about yourself, especially at that age as well, because you don't really understand emotions, you don't really understand ego. But I also tore me glute in the first event at the games that year.
Could you tell instantly in the workout?
Yeah, it was a 1 rep max snatch. And then I had to obviously compete in the competition injured.
For the remainder of it?
Yeah, which I was the moodiest person ever.
Yeah.
I had murder with mum and dad.
Yeah.
I had murder with me coaches. I wasn't very pleasant to be around. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But they supported me and they pushed me on. And I always remember this, and I'll laugh at this for the rest of my life. I was 4th going into the final event, and it was a 2-part event. It was like Diane, which is 21, 15, 9 of deadlifts and handstand push-ups. Rest 2 minutes, and then it was 5 rope climbs, 30 thrusters. And before going out onto the floor, Tom Christian, who was one of my coaches at the time, and Tom was got hardcore mentality. He said to me, "Pussy or podium."
Oh!
Pussy or podium.
Yeah.
And at the time, I hated them.
Yeah.
But that pushed me on to get on the podium.
Yeah.
And that gave me the drive and the fuel to go and do it.
But can I ask this? You know, when you're doing a workout or like you're lining up to compete, what's going through your mind?
At that time, I was a massive overthinker, and I didn't understand myself really at all. I didn't understand my own mind and what was going on. As I got older and more mature, and obviously work with my mindset coach, we had tools that we put in place for me to be able to actually understand and deal with what's going on. So at first, I was very emotional. I was like, I can't even describe
What, like
it.
lose it if you didn't do well and all stuff like that?
I had plenty of that.
Yeah.
I had plenty of that. I remember one time in the teens throwdown in Amsterdam, it was like max pegboards, and I fell off the pegboard, and if you fell off the pegboard, you got disqualified from that workout. I ran off the floor and was throwing chairs everywhere, throwing chairs at the wall. Mum and dad were just like, wow. But that just obviously that shows passion.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say, like passion.
And how much you cared. And I did. And I think that was also a big factor, was that I attached my self-worth to my performance as an athlete. And that's something that I will get onto shortly, because that became a massive defining part of me, which is unhealthy. Because as my mindset coach, who I'm going to speak about now, I started working with a mental performance coach in 2017. Her name's Emma Hackett from Limitless Coaching. She is one of the most beautiful and most amazing souls that I have ever met in my life. And she sponsored me. She gave me all the sessions for free. And she was there right throughout my career from 2017 all the way up to 2021.
What was the title again?
Mental performance coach.
Mental performance. So is it as much up here as it is in your body?
I'd argue, and I think Phil would say the same, it's probably 85% mental, our sport, 15% physical. Because if you have a look at the top level now, at all the CrossFit athletes, every one of them have got similar Fran times, similar clean and jerks, similar 5K run times. What differentiates them is what's between the ears.
Yeah.
So what she did was she gave me lots of tools to be able to implement. Like, one of them was a cold shower every morning, because how she described it was, when you get in the cold shower, that headspace that you go into is exactly the same headspace as you're going to be in when you're in a workout.
Yeah.
So you can work on being able to relax, control yourself, breathe, using something called auto-suggestion, what your conscious mind says to your subconscious mind, and it reacts. So, for example, okay, one more rep, breathe, relax. One more rep, breathe, relax. You can practice that in a cold shower. She then also implemented like visualization and how to control how I feel if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
She had me doing this thing, which was amazing, where I would, as soon as I finish a workout, I would change my shoes and change my cap. I am now Reece the person.
Yeah.
Before I go into the warm-up area, I change my cap, I change my shoes, and now become Reece the athlete. So she really, really supported me and helped me. But not even that. She was just someone I could speak to about how I was feeling.
Yeah.
And she would just put it into perspective for me. And honestly, I will be in debt to her for the tools that she has taught me, because them tools now still impact me in normal day-to-day life in terms of obviously emotional regulation. So anyway, we move through. From 2018, I pulled out injured that year from the Open, but I still competed quite a lot. And then 2019 comes around. 2019, I knew after pulling out in 2018, and it was my last year as a teenager, I knew I had what it takes to go back to the games, and I knew I'd put that much work in, and it become that much of a burning desire that I was going to do it. And I had people around me who believed in me so much. And I went there and I done what I said I was going to do. I ended up finishing, I remember, 8th in the Open, 3rd in the online qualifier, and then ended up finishing 4th at the CrossFit Games that year. This year...
So you went twice the game?
Yeah.
Okay.
This year was much more difficult because I was maturing. I was now 17. I had a girlfriend at the time.
And also, do you think you had expectation? You'd done it once, finished third.
I think I had expectation, but I also think I had pressure because I was the UK's team who was coming through. So I had that pressure on myself. And then...
So which was the most enjoyable?
2019 was much more enjoyable, but the actual impact of the performance negatively impacted me, and that sent me on a downward spiral.
Which, what happened? What?
So I ended up finishing fourth of the games.
Yeah, which is still amazing.
One place at the podium. And that was because I was very consistent all weekend, to be honest, and I performed really well. I implemented all the tools that the mindset coach had helped me with, and I trained really hard leading up to it. But I ended up finishing last in an event which was like handstand walks, cowls on the assault bike, and heavy sandbags. And because there was only 10 of us that year who qualified, if you had a slip up, it was very difficult to be able to pull it back.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so look, over the course of that 5 years of being focused, competing all year, being obsessed and training, I didn't have many friends. I didn't spend time doing anything outside the gym. Everything I did was about CrossFit. And I remember that year I made a decision. My mindset coach helped me with this, to reach back out to my friends. Spend time with people who are of the same age as me, and be a kid, enjoy life, like be a human as well as being an athlete. And the people around me supported me on that, and I think that's why I enjoyed it much more, because I had much more balance. Whereas in previous years I had no balance at all. But after putting all that work in and finishing fourth, I then went absolutely off the rails. I was partying all the time. I was taking loads of drugs. I was drinking. And while all this was going on, so we'll speak now about my injury. And the reason why I decided to step back from individual competition. I ate my glute in 2017. I did lots of rehab stuff for it, and it wasn't getting any better. And we couldn't figure out what was going on. My coaches at the time, they were physios, and they just thought that I'd basically built a psychological block, and it was in my head.
But did you know? I was like,
I just knew.
I know.
It was it's actually called piriformis syndrome, but I have like a bit of scar tissue around the muscle which compresses the nerve.
Is that in your bum?
That's in your glute, which means that when the glutes compress the sciatic nerve, the muscles don't activate. So I couldn't get any stronger with pulling from the ground, because when the nerve was pinched, the muscles didn't work. And this was going on from 2017, and I knew it weren't getting any better. But I believe what my coaches were telling me. So I believed it was in my head, which is actually a positive, because in 2019, I ignored it. I wasn't getting stronger, but I was still getting better at other things, that I was able to maintain balance as a competitor to be able to obviously still go to the games. But after the games in 2019, I just knew something wasn't right. And I also knew I love Peak to Bits, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me in terms of a person and as an athlete. But I knew it was time to move on. And I had a call inside of me to do something different. I wanted to be a coach as well, and at the time they couldn't facilitate me being a coach. So I looked elsewhere, and me and my mum clashed heads massively on this decision. But I knew this was the best decision for me, and I never looked back. So I ended up getting me level 1, and then I went.
What is that, level 1 coaching?
CrossFit level 1, which allows you to be a CrossFit coach in CrossFit gyms.
So how old were you when you wanted to be a coach?
17.
17. That is crazy. That is crazy.
Do you know what, Steph? I just love the sport that much, and I love the concept that much. Like, I also bought into CrossFit changes lives. It brings amazing people together. It makes us feel good. It really supports and helps so many people. And I bought into that concept away from the sport. And then I started coaching at CW1. I met a guy called Craig, who was also a very important person in my life, as he taught me how to coach CrossFit, but in a very strict and regimented way, which is what we've implemented in our gym now, and it's working amazing. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have had them values and mindset, and we wouldn't have the coaching quality that we have in Full Moon now if it wasn't for him. I was there for... How long was I there for? I was there for like 9 months.
But whilst this was going on, are you still an athlete, or?
So while this is still going on, so I am still, I'm in a grey area right now. I still want to be an athlete. I still want to go to the games.
But you know something's not right.
I know something's not right, but I'm trying to blank it out as
Yeah.
best as I can. I'm still training like an athlete, and obviously now I'm also focusing on coaching. I had massive aspirations to go to Dubai and be a CrossFit coach out there, because at the time there was a massive influx of coaches who were athletes who would go out there, they'd coach CrossFit,
Yeah.
but then they'd also train the sun and they'd have a nice lifestyle.
Oh yeah, bored.
So I knew that from when I was 16, and lucky enough, I was very driven and I had enough contacts around me that I had set that up for when I turned 18. So I needed to, from 17 to 18, get coaching experience, be able to understand myself and be able to understand how to coach before
Yeah.
setting it up and going to Dubai.
Yeah.
So that was always happening. When I was 18, I was always moving to Dubai to coach. But I also still wanted to be an athlete, so I was going there to coach, but also to be able to still be an athlete and live a lifestyle that allowed me to be able to fund being an athlete, but also have the time to be an athlete.
But did you think that you could have competed in the like male adult category?
That was the goal. That was
Yeah.
the vision, and that was my identity. I was Reece, the CrossFit Games athlete, and that's why there was a very, very, very difficult period in my life when that come to an end. But I went to Dubai when I was 18. This is during COVID. And I thought in my head that this was it. This is what I'm going to do for the next few years. I'm going to earn some good money. I'm going to live a good lifestyle. And I got there and it wasn't what it was supposed to be. I really missed home and I missed my family and I missed my friends.
Yeah.
I was alone and I was treated really, really poorly by the guy I was working for. I'm not going to mention any names.
Do you reckon that's because you were young?
Well, yeah, they tried to take advantage of me,
Yeah.
basically. And I always knew my self-worth.
Yeah.
And I said to myself in my head, if I allow this person now in my first job to walk all over
Yeah.
me, I will let anybody else do
Yeah.
it for the rest of my
Yeah.
life. And I wasn't going to have that. But I also think that was the biggest lesson ever for me, because I learned while being in Dubai that I am not cut out for working for anybody. I can't be told what to do.
Yeah.
I want to have holidays when I want to go away, and I want to have freedom. And look, that's my biggest, I'll be honest, for me, wealth is your time.
Yeah.
Can I go and do things whenever I want?
Yeah.
Yes. If I want to go on holiday tomorrow, can I go on holiday tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yes. If I want to have a day off from work because I am not feeling myself, then I can have a day
Yeah.
off work.
100%.
And
100%.
that's what true wealth and freedom is
Yeah.
for me. And I think that's the reason why I went down the route that I did. And that was the reason why, I mean, look, I'm lucky and I'm fucking grateful that I found a passion at a young age.
Yeah.
And a passion that I could earn money from. And like, I know a lot of people search their whole life for that purpose. So I thank the universe or God or whatever you want to call it for bringing that into my life. So after the buy, that became my focus. How can I now utilize my knowledge and work for myself? So when I come back, I went to CrossFit with Mersey, and I started an online coaching business called Mitchell Fit at the time with a friend called Harry Marshall. And look, I need to say a massive thank you to Harry Marshall, because at the time I knew CrossFit, but I didn't know business.
Yeah.
And I didn't know logistics, and I didn't really understand what I was doing. He supported and helped me massively with the setup, with the design, and understanding how to run a business.
It sounds like at every single stage you've always had real good people around you to like support you and guide you. Definitely 100%.
I've been very, very lucky
Yeah.
that I've been shown so much
Yeah.
love from so many people.
But do you reckon that's because people can see something in you? They can see your drive and they can see the passion and all that. So it's like, I'm going to invest my time in him because he's on the right path. He's like a winner.
I think energy radiates, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I mean, look, if you know me, I just love people stuff, and I
Yeah.
just love helping, and I just love having connection and spending
Yeah.
time with people. Like, I can't tell you how much that fills my cup up, probably more than anything else, if I'm honest. But yeah, so I had MF. I was then obviously in CrossFit with Mersey. We had such an amazing community in CrossFit with
Yeah.
Mersey, and I just found so much love for training and for coaching, but while being in that place and having freedom also to grow.
So
your
ticking all the
business.
boxes.
Exactly. And still be an athlete and still be a competitor, because
Yeah.
I still was trying. And then I was working with Stephen Forcer, who we have had on our podcast, in 2021. And this was the final year of my competitive push. I trained really hard, and then I qualified in third to German Throwdown against some big athletes. They had Mortis Feeberg, you had Luka Dukic, you had Kevin Winkins. We had, like, it was a stacked
Yeah.
field. Finished third in the qualifiers. trained my ass off, and then got to the event, and every single workout I had heavy pulling, which obviously affects the problem that I have with the nerve. Before I went there, in fact, I reached out to actually get some proper professional like help from the hospital. So I had like scans, and then I had Botox, I had cortisone injections.
Well, is this because you were like, I know they're saying it's my mind, but I just know it's in my body?
Yeah.
So like you like invested money and like really like looked into that.
So we invested about maybe £15,000 to get all these injections and to get all the scans and we worked with a guy called Nigel Jones, who was the old Liverpool doctor, and he basically said to me, if these don't work, there's not really much else that we can do.
So what does that do for your head? What does that do?
I just believed that it would work.
Yeah.
And I was so caught up in that this is my path that nothing's going to stop me.
Yeah.
I was relentless.
Like, I'm invincible.
Yeah. I was relentless, and I still am relentless in what I do, but I was relentless with being an athlete. And then when I got to the competition and it had heavy pulling in, and after the first event, the nerve was impinged again.
Yeah.
And I ended up finishing 34th. There was an event where it had 170 kilo deadlifts. I did one deadlift and sat on the bar for the remainder of the competition, like for the remainder of that workout. That was so embarrassing for me.
But why did you do? Because it hurt? You just couldn't do it? Did your head fall off?
Because it hurt, and I knew that I was going to do more damage than good by actually trying to push through that workout. And me and Steve made the decision, which he was an amazing coach, to only do the one rep and then sit in the bar. But I remember...
what's that like, sitting there?
I remember sitting there, and I remember knowing that this is done. And that was a very, very difficult thing to go through in a competition. Yeah. Knowing that your patch changing, something's shifting inside of you.
And it's out of your control.
It was totally out of your control. And from there, I went to Amsterdam with my best friend Sam. He picked me up, and I didn't speak the whole 5 days that I was there with him. I didn't speak. I was in a cloud. I couldn't focus, Steph. I literally... Something was shifting and changing in me, and I had an identity crisis.
Yeah.
A full on, I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know what my life looks like.
Just what age was this again? Just remind me.
This is in 2021, so I'm 20.
So 20.
20. And then, yet again, I went down the drug route, taking loads of drugs, doing loads of partying, doing anything to run away from the pain that I was feeling about the downfall of obviously being an athlete. And then I remember in the January, I got back in the gym, I was back coaching, and I remember one day I had a bit of an epiphany. Like, what I do now with coaching and online coaching helps so many people.
Yeah.
What I do as an athlete or going to the CrossFit Games only helps me.
Yeah.
And that was a bit of a game changer in terms of like how I felt towards it. I'm not sure what people's outlook is on spirituality or awareness or what we are here as humans for. I had a massive awakening in that January. An awakening that brought so many negative, suppressed and repressed emotions to the surface. And while losing my identity, while also being autistic and ADHD, and having this like anxiety and these thoughts and these feelings and no control of what was going on, I pretty much had a breakdown for the whole of 2022. But because of my sheer drive and the mentality that I built through CrossFit, my mind wouldn't let me sink. Yeah. So what it did was it made me keep working, keep coaching, be in the gym training still, just making sure you busy. Stay on track. Yeah. Yeah, through avoidance. But all this is happening. And then I never externalised it. I kept it all internal, and I suffered. During this time as well, I started smoking weed. Yeah. Look, I don't know what people's outlook is, and I'm going to be honest and truthful about everything that's happened to me. Cannabis helped me massively at that time, because what it did was it gave me a break and a rest from yourself, from the mind and from myself. And I needed that at that time because there was too much going on. There was too many changes. I was in such a dark place and I couldn't figure out what was going on. Yeah. All my old coping mechanisms and everything that I'd done to stay on track wasn't working anymore. So I made it my job that I need to heal. I need to fix myself. I need to understand. So I started reading books. This is when I became really introspective. I read a lot of books. I did a lot of meditation. I did a lot of research. I just tried to work as much on myself as
Yeah.
I could because I was struggling that much.
Yeah.
And it was like a ripple effect. Obviously, I had the downfall of the athlete. I didn't know where I was going. And then this, all these emotions and whatever it was, rose massively to the surface. And then in April of 2022, while all this is going on, MF was starting to do pretty good at the time. I built like a bit of a base in the gym, and we were having such a good time with it. We built a boss community of people, and then I ended up getting told I had to leave CrossFit with Mersey by the owner, which right now I will thank him for the rest of my life for that, because that pushed me into doing what I did now. But at the time, we had 20 athletes who were all on MF.
Yeah.
Who was all training with me in the gym. That had nowhere to train, and they wasn't allowed to stay on my program if they stayed in the gym.
Yeah.
That was the rules that the owner had set out. And at the time, we had a guy who I believe is my guardian angel, but one of the most special people in my life, JC.
Yeah.
And I said, JC, look, I had no goals or plans to open a gym anytime soon. It was something that I wanted to do in the future, but it wasn't now. And I think that maybe now is the right time. I know that you were interested in opening a gym at some point. Would you do it with me? And he said, yeah, right away. And then the next day, Full Moon Fitness was born.
The next day?
Literally, we met. We set out plans. The name I'd had for a long time. And I always said that when I had a gym, I want a logo with a wolf and a moon.
How old are you here when this?
I'm 21 now, so this is 2022.
Only 21.
And at the time, there was me, there was JC, and there was another guy called John Burns. And we sat down and we made plans, and then we went unit hunting, and that was it. We obviously left Mersey and we went to another gym at the time. While I'm anxiety ridden, while I don't know what's going on in my head, but I'm on this roller coaster that felt so right. And I knew with the knowledge that I had gained that I could do this. I could open a gym. I could be the manager of a gym, and I could make it work. I had so many plans and so many ideas, and I think that's why JC trusted me so much. I trusted that he could build the business and that it would be amazing. I can't believe what we've got now, but I never dreamed to have what we have now, if I'm honest. But I knew that we could make it work, and we did. But then it was post-COVID. All the industrial units had been took. We couldn't get a change of use on a building, so we were stuck. We couldn't find anywhere to open up. And then I was PTing a client at the time, and her dad owned a big car showroom, and there was a small garage on the side. And that small garage, she said that we could move into for the time being, until we found somewhere, which is what we did. We moved in, and after a month, the car showroom came for sale.
So 1 month?
1 month we were there, and then the car showroom became for sale. Bear in mind, the showroom's 10,500 square foot. It was probably double the size that we originally wanted, but it was in our price range, and having someone like JC, someone who has got amazing contacts, knows how to pull strings, and is driven and loves the deal and can make things work, and his relentlessness got a startup mortgage, a mortgage for a startup business, which is practically impossible now. That process was painful. It took 12 months, and at any point it could have fell through. Because it's a mortgage, and there was lots of stuff that the building needed that it didn't have to get the mortgage across the line. So for 12 months, I was in the little gym next door, just doing PTs, obviously letting the MF athletes train there, and then just training myself.
But that was serving its purpose. That was like...
For sure, and it was the best thing that we ever did, because it gave me more time to become who I was meant to be. To obviously be able to be the person that I needed to be for the gym. And it also gave us a little bit of time to build a membership base and to actually have some sort of like foundation before we moved into the big gym. And then last minute, one of our business partners pulled out, and the whole thing nearly fell apart. One of my best friends at the time, lucky enough, was very interested in coming on board, and that's what he did. And then Full Moon Fitness opened on June 12th of 2023. And then from then to now has been a fucking wild journey. Wild journey. first year of obviously building a business, it built pretty fast, but me, a business partner, we had to work really, really hard.
Yeah.
Probably the hardest and the most tired the hardest I've ever worked and the most tired that I've ever been in my life. But I knew that foundation and that work that we put in at the start, and also the culture that I wanted to build.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be the most friendliest place. I wanted it to be a place where people can come and be themselves. They can open up.
Yeah.
They can let the mask down.
Yeah.
Because CrossFit gyms are communities.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're probably more of a community than they actually are a gym.
Yeah.
People become friends. People meet like-minded people. People meet partners. It's an absolutely amazing culture.
Yeah.
And then also, what I learned from Craig, coaching quality is key.
Yeah.
We are coaching very, very difficult and hard movements, which are very dangerous, first of all. And if they're not coached properly or done in the correct manner or way, people get hurt, people get injured. And I wanted to make sure from the start that was the culture that we set. And I believe we've set them 3 things out and it's paid off massively. During this time, I was going through massive shifts and changes in myself.
So is this like running parallel, setting up a business, like that's absolute chaos and like loads of like stuff to do, but you've also knew that you had to like work on yourself? And
for sure. And I just don't think I realised like how much like obviously the coping mechanisms that I had implemented as a young person to deal with my autism and ADHD was so unhealthy. And there was something else I was really struggling with, and something that I think I'm probably only just slowly but surely coming into acceptance of. And I think when you've got stuff going on inside of you, massive changes that you don't understand, and you're running multiple businesses, and you've got a lot of stress on your shoulders, it's really difficult.
Yeah.
It's really, really difficult. And I think for me, towards the back end of like last year and 2024, this all rose to the surface and I had to face it. I had to become who I was meant to be and who I'm supposed to be. I believe massively in life that for you to attract what is meant for you, you have to live in resonance with the truth of who you are.
Yeah.
If you wear a mask and you then attract people who also wear a mask, if you're true to yourself and you are open about who you are and who you want to be, you attract people of that same vibe and that same tribe. So the whole of last year, I battled and I battled and I battled, and I think towards the middle of the year I realised that I'm not going to battle anymore. I'm not going to run away from who I really am, and I'm not going to pretend that I'm someone that I'm not, because I was suffering.
Yeah.
So I have now come to terms with the fact that I am bisexual, and I'm not going to speak too much about it because, to be honest, it's actually not really many people's business.
Yeah.
But I believe it's a massive part of me now.
Yeah.
And I believe that if I'm going to set out on a journey like this, and I want to share wisdom to the world, and I want to help people become better, then I need to be truthful to myself and to the people around me. That was the darkest battle I have ever been through in my life, and I don't even want to go into too much detail about it because I wasn't sure if I was going to speak about it or talk about it on today's podcast, but I feel like it's right and I wanted to get it off my mind. For some people, they can accept it, but when you're young and you've never thought about these things, and then you get to 21 and you realise that you're not who you thought you was, it's so scary. And I'll be honest, I didn't want to be here. And I am very proud of the work that I did on myself last year to come into acceptance of who I am. And I'm not ashamed of who I am, and I am actually not really bothered about what other people think or other people's perspectives are. And I think when you could say, in the closet, you are so scared and so worried about what other people are going to think. But for me, it was more about what I thought of myself. I was disgusted at myself. But you've got to be true to who you are, and I will live my life in truth, and I will live my life as who I'm meant to be, regardless of what others around me or what my mind thought that I was. So that was a very, very big battle, and that made me really, really struggled to concentrate and to be comfortable around other people. And I'm just in acceptance now of who I'm meant to be.
So can I just say, like, from kind of like being by your side for all of like last year, and I can genuinely see the hard work that you have put in, like, you know, the battle and like, you know, what was going on internally and all that. So it's lovely to hear you just so open and like talking about it now. Honestly, like, did you think last year you would be sitting here talking about this now?
No, I definitely didn't. I didn't think I would ever accept it.
Yeah.
I think I just thought that it would go away.
Yeah.
And whether I'm with boys or whether I'm with girls, it doesn't matter to me. And I think really to most people around you, it also doesn't matter. But if you're going to open yourself up to find love in life,
Yeah.
you've got to be true to yourself, and you've got to be emotionally available, which when you're battling deep emotions, I had deep shame, I had deep fear, and that
What shame of what?
shame of who I was, really.
Yeah.
And I think people who know me know how much I just love to give love to
Yeah.
people. Like, I believe that love is the answer to all of our issues, and as a society we would be so much stronger, and we would be able to live life with such a fuller heart if we could all learn to love ourselves and then love everybody else around us, which is something we've spoken massively about on this podcast. And I felt like I wasn't able to give as much love as I wanted to myself or the people around me because I was just dealing with so many complex emotions. It's a very difficult thing to go through, and people who tell you that it's not, have not been through the experience that I have been through. And there were some dark days, Steph. There were some severely, severely dark days. And yeah, there was a catalyst for all this, but that is not for me to speak about on this. But that catalyst taught me self-worth. It taught me understanding of myself, and it taught me love.
But it looks like everything has literally happened for a reason, hasn't it? To get you to this point where you are now. Everything.
I believe everything is meant to be.
Yeah.
And I strove or strived so much for success.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of my journey, I wasn't content with where I was, and I didn't actually be proud of where I was or how far that I'd actually come. I am so proud of the person that I have become now, because I am now who I am meant to be, and I am so excited to help people, support people, and to be Reece Mitchell.
So let me ask you this. 2026, are you happy? Are you at peace? Are you content?
I am at peace, but I am never content. And that is something that I'm working on. And I'm going to continue doing my inner work. I'm going to continue doing my meditation. Because meditation for me, I want to speak about it because that was a game changer. When I went in and I could find awareness behind all these negative thoughts, all these deep, dark emotions, I was able to understand that I am not them emotions. I am not them thoughts. They're a part of me, but I am not them. And that allowed me to be able to give them love, give them compassion, and be empathetic to them like I would if it was my friend who was going through the same thing. Instead of criticising myself, instead of being negative, instead of being mean to myself and telling myself that I shouldn't feel like that.
Were you your own friend?
I was my worst enemy.
Yeah.
And I punished myself. I punished myself through taking drugs. I punished myself through extreme, intense exercise. And I was on a train that was not moving anywhere. And I am just at a point now in my life where I just want to help people. And I want to keep loving myself and loving the people around me. And I am very, very excited to, with this podcast especially, is to go on a journey of understanding other people and being able to share the lessons that I have learned through all my experiences with being ASD, with having ADHD, with all the struggles that I've had, while also being a young entrepreneur and wanting to run businesses and wanting to be successful, of how all of them things have taught me so much. I want to share that with the world. And for 2026, my focus is on staying peaceful, being content, and always striving forwards.
So we've talked about the past. Talk to me about the future.
So I'm a visionary, and I've always lived in the future. For my 2026, I want to be present in the now. And I want to make the right decision in the now that is going to get me to where I want to be. And where I want to be is helping as many people as I can in whatever way or format that looks like.
And is this podcast helping you as well with regard to getting your voice out there and, you know, as you said, speaking to people, learning from people? And
this podcast is helping me massively.
Yeah.
And I didn't ever think that I would have the ability to be honest with myself and speak openly about these things.
Yeah.
But to be able to do that today and to be able to have you join me has made me feel very comfortable about it. And I want to wrap it up here and just say a massive thank you to you.
Oh, my pleasure.
And a massive thank you to all of our listeners. Please subscribe to the channel and thank you for listening to my story.
Is that it?